We are live. Yes, we are. We are live. And here we are again in ODE, Mastery, Teacherpreneur, Facebook community. Coming at you live today, Monday, November 9th. And today we're going to talk about mindset, entrepreneurial mindset. And we have our guest today, which is Dontay Kearney from DK Business and Mindset. All right. And we're going to be discussing from employee to entrepreneur. So Dontay is going to provide us, the teacher community, some insight, what it takes to become an entrepreneur, go from being an employee, because teachers are employees, most of us are, to becoming that entrepreneur, that teacherpreneur, and what it takes to do that. So to give you guys a little bit of a bio on Dontay. Dontay has been in the healthcare field for 5 years, which is a plus. So he understands, what healthcare, what mental health is all about, especially with just about anybody who works hard. He currently is an entrepreneur as owner of DK Trucking and DK Business and Mindset for over 2 years. He is a top enroller for different sales companies. He self-confesses that he is a lover, not a fighter, okay, with a mission to give hopeful entrepreneurs, who lack direction, a fair advantage. So everybody, please welcome Dontay Kearney here to ODE Mastery. Dontay, thank you for being here. And anybody watching, you can hashtag live, hashtag replay, let us know where you're watching from. And if you have any questions, just write them down below and we'll have Dontay answer them for you. Dontay, welcome. Welcome to our live feed here on Facebook.
Thank you, Gabe. I appreciate you having me, man.
Oh, you're most welcome. There's a lot to be said about being an entrepreneur. You and I are pretty much on the same path, same mission in life. We're trying to create, and we are creating a mass movement in our respective, visions. Mine is a vision of, teachers segueing into the 21st century and having the right knowledge and skills and support to be able to, manage their lives, sustain themselves without all that mental stress, all that political rhetoric that comes with being, a brick and mortar teacher. And you're doing something similar, with your mission. Who are you actually, engaging? Who is your audience?
So the audience that I normally look for is for anyone who is, and whether it's business or mindset. That's why I have my thing called DK Business and Mindset. Is anyone who's just starting out in business or struggling in business, or anyone who's just looking to fix their mindset. That's what I provide. I provide opportunities, and they go hand in hand if you really think about it. Your mindset is going to help your business in all reality. So you want to make sure before you work on business that you work on you first.
Yeah.
So, that's my mission, is to work on the mindset and their, and their mentality first before they even start learning business skills and learning opportunities of entrepreneurship. So, that's my goal.
That's awesome, man. I make a lot of noise about 21st century education, as a high value niche business. And I believe teachers can learn valuable skills in transition, from brick and mortar to the digital arena. Okay. What are 5 skills of an entrepreneur, as an online educator that they can adapt? What are 5 skills that teachers or anybody for that matter can adopt?
Okay. So one thing that I think a teacher, because even as entrepreneurs, we're teachers as well. We have to teach all types of skills that we have learned. So the most importantly, the teacher has to teach themselves first. They have to educate themselves. So things that I do personally to help educate myself, I listen to podcasts, I read some books. I always, try to keep you always want to learn. You never stop learning. You always want to, even if you are a teacher, some people have that false mentality of, oh, I know it all. Oh, I am a teacher. Oh, I am an educator. You should always be coaching and teaching yourself. So that's one skill you should always do. Also, learn your audience. So, as an entrepreneur, we have to, whether it's online or whether you're doing traditional business, learn your audience. You want to make sure that you know specifically where your audience is. So as a teacher, I'm sure that you have students that only pay attention to when you do certain things or when you do certain things. So just learning to learn your audience in general. Staying consistent, so making sure that you're saying the right things. I wouldn't even say saying the right things, more so just being consistent with your words. So, if you're saying what you say, be consistent with what you say. Don't change your words, because then you're going to confuse people. So that's like if you ever watch my videos, I'm always staying consistent on what I'm talking about. Whether I'm talking about your mindset, whether I'm teaching you business skills, that's where I'm consistently staying at. You're not going to pay attention if one day I'm talking about business and mindset, and then the next day I'm talking about sports. It's not a consistent conversation. Right. So you just want to stay consistent in what you're doing. Patience. I can't teach this to anybody. That's something you just have to garnish. Patience is the biggest thing. If you don't have patience, whether you're in the health field, a teacher, entrepreneur, anything, if you don't have patience, it's not meant for you. In anything you do, and I told people in this on my live too, this is life, this is us. So we revolve around life, and time waits for no man. So if you learn how to have the patience to work with time, things will work out for you. But if you don't have the patience to work with time, time's just going to leave you behind. Right. And the last thing that I always tell people is not everyone will get it. So, and I know this as a teacher standpoint, we all, as an educator, we all want everyone to get it. We all want everyone to take in the information that we give them and just, thrive with it. But the truth of it is not everybody will get it, and not everybody will apply it to themselves. So I can give you as much information as I can give you, but once I give you that information, it's your decision whether you want to apply it to you or not. So just understand that not every single person will understand or get what you're trying to say. Just focus on the people who are.
But that's pretty awesome, man. Those are very key. They go hand in hand a lot with what I talk to my community about. Keep learning. You have to keep learning. The moment that we stop learning, we become complacent, right? But not only that, I believe that teachers get to a point, just about anybody, and let me not just say teachers, but anybody trying to transition into an entrepreneurial mentality, there's a point in our lives, in our careers, that we stop growing. And because we stop growing academically, we have a need, or we feel that we have to continue to get certifications, or we have to continue to enroll in this course or that course, because something's wrong. I personally believe that what we're not realizing is that we don't need to keep learning what we already know. Now it's time to start sharing that knowledge. And once we start to share, we actually begin or continue to grow again. Now we're not stymied. Now we're doing something that's more purposeful. And that's the whole point. We stop growing because there's no more purpose. Like we maxed out. Where do we go from here? And I think the right thing to do is to mentor, to coach, to share that experience so that you can continue to grow and now help others do the same, which is pretty cool. Knowing your audience, I agree with you 100%. Who is your target audience? Who are you trying to serve? Who do you want to help? That is very important. I agree with that. Consistency all the time. I talk a lot about the mindset like you do, which I think is very important. Without the proper mindset, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're not right up here, what are you gonna do? You can't. It's, hitting a brick wall all the time. It's like the far side. If somebody's pushing when you should be pulling, you don't change your attitude. It's just a struggle. Consistent with words, I agree. Don't confuse people. I try not to. But sometimes I get technical too. Because I come from a 16-year technical background, and I confuse my own self. Right. But I think that as long as we understand that, we can pretty much be like, okay, let's get back on the simple terms. People want to be spoken with in terms that they understand, right? And that means let's be less jargon, more sincerity in our words. Right. Patience, you can't buy patience. You can't, that's experience. One of the ways that I've learned to deal with patience is learning emotional intelligence, and the people's EQ or emotional quotient, that's something that'll teach anybody. And I have a free course that I am getting ready to provide my community today on my live about EQ. Because we may have IQ, but that just measures intelligence, okay, or your academic intelligence and things like that. But your emotional intelligence, your EQ, that without that you have no IQ. Basically, is what it comes down to. So, patience comes with that. Having to understand your own inner self. And being able to do that. Once you do that, you're able now to guide, lead others. To a greater cause. You don't want to direct people and tell them this is what you got to do. You got to be patient and guide them through a process, guide yourself through a process, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we're going to learn. That's part of the learning curve. Make the mistake, but be patient as you're doing that. Don't give up just because, or get impatient just because. And not everyone will get it. You're right. Not everyone will get it. I didn't get it. And everybody has an epiphany eventually. We have that aha moment, that wow, I just got it. That light bulb, just blew up in my mind. So yeah, those are important, and I agree with you fully in that. I've had my obstacles, Dontay, coming here to Ecuador and surviving the first 8 months. This was back in 2017, and I'm sure you have experienced adversity and doubts on your journey as well. Okay. How did you handle adversity and doubt while transitioning into a confident entrepreneur?
So what helped me in my journey and how I handled adversity and doubt? And one thing that I want people to understand is that adversity and doubt just doesn't go away. You're going to face adversity and doubt in anything you do. So just because you overcame it in one situation doesn't mean it's not going to come back. So, how I got to where I am today is just through going through it. Some people just think there's all these technical terms and how you do this and how you do that. No, and it's not just because of entrepreneurship or you're being a teacher or anything. This is just life. People are able to be where they are today because they just overcome it. They just go through it, and you don't have to have like a, thing to get over adversity. There's ways to cope with adversity, but at the same time, you just got to go through it. You just got to say, you know what, there's a storm coming. I know it's coming. I just have to get through the storm, and I know on the other side of the storm, it's going to be sunny days. So, if you walk into it with that mindset, you'll be prepared for the storm. Which you put your rain jacket on, you get your umbrella, and you just prepare and go through that storm until you see the sun. So, me personally, that's how I always dealt with life, is just knowing that there's a sunny side at the end. Adversity is always going to come, but if you know there's a sunny side at the end, then it's going to be fine. Don't care if it takes a week, a month, a year. Eventually, the sun's going to shine. So that's how I always looked at life. That's why nothing ever phases me. I've been through a lot. I've been through a lot in my past, but the saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger," is a true saying. What I've been through has made me into what I am today. So understand that whatever you're going through is going to make you a stronger person if it doesn't kill you. And knowing that through that storm, there's a sunny day at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah. Everybody has an obstacle. Everybody has some kind of problem that needs resolution, and it causes us to feel let down, lower our esteem levels to a point where we start to hear that little voice that says, give up, man. It's not worth it. And what I've learned about my own personal adversity, you got, if there's any one person that you can depend on, is yourself. Because when everything else is out of the way, there's nobody else. Like, you can't reach out to anybody because nobody's answering your calls. I mean, even your prayers aren't being answered. At the end of the day, the only person that you can count on is yourself. And if you snap into that, I gotta do something. That's looking at that fear right in the eyes and saying, the obstacle. Well, if I can't figure out how to get around it, I'm gonna figure out who can help me get around it. And you start to become, resourceful. But you cannot give up and succumb to doubt. Doubt is a killer of self-esteem. Doubt is a killer of just about any forward progress, and it just culminates into other negative vibes that make people sick.
Right.
Don't fall for that, and I'm sure from your healthcare experience, you would concur with that, because if it doesn't make you stronger, like you said, it's going to make you weaker. So what are your choices? Well, I'd rather be stronger, right? Even though it feels like I'm falling apart, but you can only count on one person at the end, and that's yourself. So you should definitely move forward with that. I try to tell teachers this at a daily basis. I try to work with just about anybody on a daily basis with this idea. Now, teachers who start to believe and trust that voice in their heads, that says, I can, will learn from mistakes along the way. What are some mistakes that you wish you could have avoided?
So one of the mistakes in my journey of entrepreneurship, and this doesn't have to apply there, is trying to do it all by myself. A lot of times, and we always try to have that mentality of, I want to be self-made, I want to be independent. Right. You want to be strong. You want to be this. But,
I can do it myself.
Right. But in all reality, it's, everyone has done what you're trying to do. So stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Right. Go seek mentorship. Go see people who have been successful in that field and say, hey, you're a successful person in this field. I would like for you to mentor me, or I would like for you to coach me. If that person is offering that, so, for you, Gabe, you've done the teaching, online teaching and stuff. So I wanted to get into that field and say, hey, I want to do online teaching. I will look for you because you're pretty successful with that. So I'm like, okay, can you mentor me? Can you coach me on how to do that? And I'm pretty sure you'll say, yeah, absolutely, I would love to. Because most people, I think there's a gratification with most people if you approach them, or if they even approach you and say, I don't know how to do something, can you teach me? There's a gratification in that. So I don't think most people won't deny you if you come to them and ask them for help, because people naturally have a sense of wanting to help someone else, especially if they've been in your position before. So, my biggest mistake in my past is that I never seek mentorship. I always try to do it myself. So always seek mentorship and coaching for somebody if you don't know something.
Right. There's no I in team. We've heard that many times in the sports, arena. The same thing in a corporate mentality. There's no I in team. I was corporate for a long time in my life. The last, from 98 to 2015, when I walked away from my career to become my, solopreneur, and then make my big mistakes, along the way, which was exactly that. I walked away from a corporate environment that taught me teamwork, collaboration, cooperation. And even though the competition internally was not cool in a lot of ways, because the corporate mentality is still very competitive, more than collaborative. But yeah, going into my solo life, and trying to sustain myself, it's difficult because of that purpose, right? We want to do it ourselves, we figure, I got all this experience. But being able to put together a team of trusted advisors, let's call them, a team or a group of people that you vibe with, that they can look at you and say, wow, his leadership potential is amazing. I get a lot out of that, but this is what I bring to the table too. And now you got 2 people, and then you got 3 people, and then you're building a tribe, you're building a community now of people who trust and collaborate with each other. That's what it's all about. That's what's going to get people a lot further,
Right.
And I preach that a lot in my community. As a matter of fact, I'm very verbal in just about every live that I do. When I say, we collaborate in my community, and if you compete, I kick you out.
I heard you.
And I will kick you out
Right.
simply because this is not about one winner. This is about everybody, okay, ascending the value ladder and being helpful with each other, being collaborative with each other, because not one person can do it alone. If you can, good for you. That just means that you're probably a narcissist. You're probably an egomaniac,
Right.
somebody who has a false sense of entitlement. And I'm sorry, we don't need kings and queens in my community. Go someplace else if you want that. So yeah, I agree with that 100%. And those are definitely mistakes to avoid. There's a lot more, but definitely know that you should collaborate with people if you want to get further ahead.
Absolutely.
Instead of just trying to do it by yourself, because nobody. Superman is just a cartoon character, really.
Yeah, I know. Right.
So, as all, if not most people, teachers think in colorful words, like adjectives, to describe strengths and weaknesses. What 3 adjectives would describe your strengths, and which 3 would describe your weaknesses as an entrepreneur?
That's a good question. So I would say 3 adjectives that would describe me, and don't mind my dog in the background.
No problem.
Protecting the house.
Bring him out. Bring him in.
So one word I would describe myself is definitely compassion.
Compassion.
So, yes, I've always considered myself. Ralph, thank you. That's my dog. He's always trying to protect the house.
Hey, everybody, his name is Ralph. Ralph.
No, but I've always been compassionate with people. I've always had this natural habit of wanting to care. That's why I was in the healthcare field for 5 years. I've always had this compassion about helping people who couldn't help themselves.
Right.
I work with senior citizens. I work with people with developmental disabilities. I work with people with mental disabilities, behavioral disability. People who I've literally had work with people who would try to attack you, but from a mind state, they weren't there all the way. But that's just in my nature of just wanting to be there for people who couldn't defend for themselves. So that I would say compassion is definitely my one strength. My other strength is just being relentless. Once I have something, especially if it's something I want to do, I'm relentless. I can't stop. I'm not going to sit up here and stop for no one or nobody. Even if I have my moments, and everyone has their moments, we're human. We have our moments when we might have to slow down a bit and get ourselves back together. But once I'm back together, I'll get ready to get back on that horse and start riding again. And I would say my third strength is just being relatable. I think, from me to you, when we first met, I can relate to almost anything you were saying, from being from New Jersey to like a lot of things you've told me about from your past and everything. I'm very, I'm very relatable. Even if I haven't been through that experience, I can sympathize and understand. So, it's just, I think that's a huge trait for anyone is just to be relatable with that person. Even if you've never been through what they've been through, just understand where they come from. That's all. Right. And as far as my weaknesses, this is the one I had to kind of work on a little bit, because no one likes to write it down, but you have to be honest with yourself. Self-doubt. I tend to do it, and even to this day, no one's perfect. I'm not perfect. Self-doubt every once in a while, and then not even I have my moments where self-doubt creeps in my mind. So one way that I've learned to deal with self-doubt is when I identify it, I find a private area, and I literally talk to myself. Some people don't even people say, "Oh, you're crazy for talking to yourself." Why? Why am I crazy for fighting those demons that's trying to tell me not to do something? You know what I mean? So if I have to tell myself to shut up for a second, I will.
I talk to myself.
That's a perfect thing. That's, what I mean? So, he might have to join my live because I think he wants my attention.
Bring it.
But no, self-doubt can definitely, it can stop in you from anything you're trying to do. So I always try to learn, when I identify self-doubt, that I go, whether I have to go to a private area or if I have to do it right then and there, and say, you're not going to get the best of me. You need to shut up. So I need to do what I need to do. Yeah. So I would say another thing that got to me a lot in my career, and even sometimes now, but not so much no more, is fear. Fear has stopped me from doing a lot of things.
Sure.
And I had to look at it like, okay, what is the worst thing that could happen to you if you just attack your fear. Are you going to die? No. Right. You're not going to die. So, as I said earlier, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So, I'm learning that, and it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But I can't live on myself if I don't chase what I want in life. I would not be able to live myself. I can't live a mediocre life. I refuse. That is actually my 100% number one fear, is to live a mediocre life and die.
Right.
So, that's why at this point, I just said, screw fear. I'm going to go chase my dreams, regardless of how many mistakes I make. I'm going to do what I need to do. So don't allow fear to captivate and hold you captive. If anything, you should fear of the opposite. You should fear of being mediocre. You should fear of not being the best. So, and then I would say the last word is disappointment. I would say a lot of times in my life, from what I've been through in my past, I was scared of disappointing any person around me, because I've always wanted people to like me. I was scared of disappointing my mother, my father, any person around me. I was always scared to disappoint, But now at this point in my life, man, listen, I'm 28 years old. I'm a grown, excuse my French, but I'm a grown ass man who pays his own bills and has to worry about himself and his wife. So at this point, I don't care what nobody thinks of me. I don't care about disappointing you or anybody else. I got to do what I got to do. And that's the mentality that you need to go into with it. I have to take care of me and mine. Right. So I'm not worried about disappointing you and the next person. I'm worried about making sure I don't disappoint myself.
Right. Exactly. That's pretty good, man. And you know what? You are a grown-ass man, okay? So if they're not paying your bills, get out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I resonate totally with what you're saying, man. And more on the negative side, because it's so easy to be a little vain about ourselves, I feel strong, I feel good, I'm compassionate, I do this and that. But at the end of the day, how many people are really true to their own words, even the positive ones. The negative ones are more, I think, are more important, self-doubt, fear, disappointment, been there, done that, still doing that, in a certain sense, because I don't know, we're only human and we're fallible in so many ways. I don't pretend that I'm not vulnerable. As a matter of fact, it bothers me a great deal to feel vulnerable. It's like, it's still very uncomfortable.
Right.
But I think it's been through vulnerability that I have been allowed, I've allowed myself to understand how far I can really go and how much further I need to go in life, and how I'm going to get there, who I'm going to get there with, and all these things. So my journey continues because it's a good one, but it's through those self-realizations of negativity, of these things that might hold me back, that allow me to keep pushing forward. I can be relentless because I am, but people who are relentless, I feel sometimes, can say, I'm going to take a break. And when you take a break, it becomes procrastination. And when you procrastinate now, 5 years down the line, you forgot what your mission was. So, fear, disappointment, self-doubt, any of these negative vibes, they can be positive motivators, to get you further in life, instead of just being complacent about, I'm a strong guy, I don't have to do it,
Right.
So let me just ask you this last question here, okay? Because according to UNESCO, that's a digital library on the internet, in the next 10 years, countries must recruit 68.8 million teachers to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education to promote lifelong learning opportunities for everybody. My personal mission is to have 1%, or about 688,000 teachers, experience 6 or 7 figure sustainability online.
Right.
In the next 10 years or by 2030. Okay. So 2030 is going to, 10 years is going to fly by real quick.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want out of this entrepreneurial experience for your personal growth?
So mainly what I want for my own personal growth, entrepreneurial experience, I would say definitely just being able to do everything I set out to do. People always say money, 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 money. Listen, if money is your motivator, you're not going to survive. Period. Things I've always wanted to do is to give back. I would love opportunities of, and I've said this, me and my friend always said this, I would love to go back to my hometown and, take the homeless and put them in like a situation, call it like a hotel for homeless. So where like they'll have a place to stay. We will help them find jobs. We will clean them up. We will just like a main hub. Like they would get, we'll set them up to make sure they get groomed. They would get, set them for job interviews, have a place to stay for them, have food to eat. Just give them opportunities and for better opportunities. Because a town like Violin, it's not like huge cities like Philadelphia and New York, all those areas, but Violin has a good amount of people. In a small town like that, it shouldn't be any homeless people. I feel like that every single person should be sustain themselves. We live in a country where you can literally make anything possible if you put your mind to it, if you work hard enough. So, I would love the opportunity, and not just the homeless. I would love to do anything, like any type of community. Like I would love to start a fund for my little brother. My little brother is on the Asperger's spectrum of autism. So I would love to start funding for that. I would love to start funding for cancer. Giving back to people who are less fortunate, or give people opportunities who are less fortunate and opportunity. And whoever is on the less fortunate side, give them and show them that there is an opportunity for you to make it, because it seems like you're from urban areas, so I'm sure some of the certain areas that are all they know is whatever their environment is.
That's right.
They don't know nothing bigger or better. So if I can go into those communities and show them hey, this I may not be from like a horrible community, but I grew up in I would say a poor middle class family who didn't live in the greatest environment, but I made something of myself. And just because you grew up in a poor environment doesn't mean all you're reduced to is drugs, killing, and gangs and all. No, you can make something out of yourself besides that. It's the stigma about whether it's the minority community that all it is to do is play sports or do drugs or whatever. Like, no, you can make something out of yourself. Whether you want to be a teacher, whether you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever, like you can really make something out of yourself. But you have to believe that you can do it, and no one feels that belief in those communities. They just let people rot away, and they rather just see them, wither away. I'm not that person. I want to see people do better in those communities, and then when they do better in those communities, they can come back to that community and show those people they can do the same thing. Now, as I said before, not everyone will get it. Some people will still go back and revert to their ways. But this few select people from those communities who do get it, they'll go back and do the same thing and grow and grow and grow. And you get my point, just
absolutely.
People who are less fortunate, I want them to come,
Yeah. Look, it's admirable. Your cause, your mission in life. There's a lot of obstacles there, obviously. It's no different than mine. I don't think it matters whether you're homeless or whether you're a well-to-do individual, especially now, in our current times. Our current times dictate that, people, regardless of how educated you are or not, are struggling. And everybody's struggling at all levels, and I focus on the teacher community, again, only because, I am an online teacher. It has given me sustainability and the dignity that I've needed, in my struggle here since 2017, and moving forward and becoming my own teacherpreneur as well now, and creating this community. I'm not just trying to empower teachers on how to earn six figures and to niche down and sustain themselves. I'm actually going a little bit deeper than that, because the pain points that people have, again, whether you're highly educated or right in the bottom, poor people, are based on three things: food, clothing, and shelter. This is what I believe. And if I can empower teachers to, again, get back to the basics of their lives: food, clothing, and shelter. Those are the three important things in your life. You should be protecting those things. You should be learning how to sustain those things, and stop getting all distracted with other things, like whether it's Netflix, politics, religion, or whatever. And once you get your house in order, and I give you that opportunity, that perspective, because it's a mental thing, to rewire the brain and get back to the basics of your life, what got you where you were. Okay. Once you're there again, listen, then you start to branch out. Then you start to help others, if anything. Go ahead and watch a movie if you can. But, do things now differently, because things are different. I think, the lack of adaptability in this era is amazing to me. Everybody who came from the 20th century, which started 20 years ago, they still want to have that mentality. You can't. This is the 21st century. You got to leave all that crap behind. You got to adapt now.
Absolutely.
And you're trying to help people yourself to adapt, not only in this century, but in this era of digital-minded people. And all that takes a different type of framework, a different type of mental, set of mental skills. You got to want to do it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. As long as you impact somebody, that's a good thing. You can't impact everybody, and that's also the reality. Look, I want to impact 100 million teachers. I do. I know I'm not. But if I impact 1% of that, or 1% of 1% of that, I think I'm a happy person. It doesn't matter to me at that point, because I've done my due diligence and my correct, whatever. I've given the best that I can to anybody. You can take it, you can leave it. To me, it doesn't matter, because I sleep well at night knowing that I help people like you help people. So, and that's what it's all about, right? It's all about helping people and empowering them before we help ourselves. It's not about the money. The money comes as a blessing anyway.
Right, absolutely.
The more problems that we solve, the more money we will make. But you got to have that problem-solving entrepreneurial spirit. You got to want to save people, help people, educate people, put people on the right path unselfishly. And then the blessings will come. It's just that simple. It's simple, but it's not easy. And you and I know it's not easy to become a self-made individual, an entrepreneur. It takes a lot of skills. It takes a lot of patience, like you said, which is cool. Yeah. All right. So Dontay, any final words that you'd like, words of wisdom, anything else that you'd like to offer the whole planet right now? Because everybody who's listening should hear your last words.
Just simple. Two quotes, two things that I would just want to say, and for each one to teach one. Don't withhold nothing. Let whatever you learn, give back, and just love on people. It's been a tough year. Let's give out love, everybody. There's enough negativity, enough hate out there right now. Let's just love on people. It's easier to hate on people. Why do that? Let's love on people. Let's go back to loving people. That's all. Yeah. A la
Barry White. That's my generation, the 1970s. Barry White, he just loved to spread the love. He just put it out. It was a beautiful thing. And you know what? More babies were born because of his love. Less hate, more love. It's a beautiful thing. Absolutely. I agree with you with that one, man. All right. So listen, thank you very much for your time. I know you're a busy guy, and
I appreciate you having me on, and what you're doing in your community, man. I really love what's going on, and I'm praying for your success as well. Anyone that's trying to do something, I'm always praying for their success, because that's what it's all about. It's like you said, there's no competition here. So there's too much money on the table for us to be competing. So why not help each other? So I love what you're doing here, and I'll pray for your success.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Dontay. For everybody listening and watching, #live, Hashtag replay. Let us know where you're watching from. This is Dontay Kearney with DK Trucking and Mindset. And this is Gabriel with ODE Mastery, Facebook community of teachers, signing out. Thank you for watching. We look forward to your comments. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Later, guys.